To really understand Nate Jacobs, the storm at the center of the HBO series Euphoria, we have to ask one very hard question. Is he a psychopath? This is a word people throw around a lot for villains in stories, but in the real world, it's complicated. Experts don't really use the word psychopath as an official diagnosis anymore. They talk more about antisocial personality disorder and something called the psychopathy spectrum. This isn't a simple light switch, on or off. It's more like a dimmer switch, with different levels of traits like lack of empathy, grandiosity, and manipulation. So, where does Nate land on that dimmer switch? Does he have any empathy at all? Looking closely at his actions, his relationships, and the rare moments where his mask slips, we see a disturbing portrait of someone who might be very high on that spectrum, but with a crucial, twisted difference. His empathy isn't gone, it's weaponized. First, let's look at the classic signs. Nate displays a chilling level of manipulation, which is a cornerstone of psychopathy. He doesn't just lie, he builds entire false realities to control the people around him. His scheme with Jules is a masterclass in this. He creates a fake online persona, Tyler, to catfish her, gains her trust, and then uses her intimate photos and vulnerabilities to blackmail her. He does this not for any simple gain, but to control the narrative around his father's secrets and to assert dominance. He treats people like chess pieces, moving them around a board only he can see. This grandiosity, another key trait, is obvious. Nate sees himself as the king of his high school, the protector of his family's image, and the ultimate authority. He believes his own logic, no matter how violent or distorted, is correct. His rage, especially when his control is threatened, is explosive and terrifying. We see this in his brutal fights, his intimidation of Maddy, and his constant, simmering anger. On the surface, this all points to a severe lack of empathy, an inability to feel what others feel. He seems to cause pain without remorse, using fear as his primary tool. But here is where it gets more interesting and more disturbing. If Nate had zero empathy, he would be like a shark, cold and purely predatory. Yet, Nate is constantly, violently emotional. His empathy might be broken, but it's not absent. Instead, it functions in a reversed, sinister way. He is hyper-aware of what other people are feeling, but he uses that knowledge not to connect or comfort, but to find their weakest points and exploit them. He knows Maddy's desire for a dramatic, passionate love, so he gives her that passion mixed with abuse to keep her hooked. He knows Jules's longing for acceptance and her complicated feelings about identity, and he weaponizes all of it. He knows his father's shame and his mother's desire for a perfect family, and he holds the whole fragile structure together with threats. This isn't a lack of understanding emotions, it's a deep, intuitive understanding turned to a dark purpose. In psychology, this is sometimes called cognitive empathy, knowing what someone feels, without affective empathy, caring about what they feel. Nate has the first in abundance. The second appears to be missing. However, there are moments that crack this theory open, moments that suggest even effective empathy might be buried deep within him, poisoned by his environment and his own pain. His relationship with his father, Cal, is the root of everything. From a horrifically young age, Nate was exposed to his father's secret life of recorded sexual encounters and his clear disappointment in his son. Nate learned two terrible lessons: that intimacy is tied to performance, control, and shame, and that the facade of the perfect family must be protected at all costs. In a way, Nate's entire life is a violent performance to protect that facade. In his mind, his tyranny is a form of love. When he terrorizes Maddy after breaking up with her, he frames it as keeping her safe from other guys. When he assaults Tyler and takes the blame for his father's crime, he sees it as defending the family honor. This warped, toxic sense of duty is a ghost of empathy, twisted beyond recognition. It's not care for another's well-being, it's an obsessive need to control his world and everyone in it, which he mistakenly labels as love and protection. The most compelling evidence for this buried, damaged capacity for feeling comes in his interactions with two people, Jules and Cassie. With Jules, his obsession goes beyond simple manipulation. There is a strange, fractured recognition there. Jules represents a freedom and authenticity that his father both desires and despises, and Nate is drawn to and repelled by her in equal measure. His final scene with her in the second season, where he cries and seems to have a moment of raw, unfiltered connection, is a mess of conflicting emotions. Is it real? Is it another manipulation? The show suggests it might be both, a genuine feeling surfacing through his broken psyche, immediately snatched up and used as another tool in his game. With Cassie, the dynamic is different. He sees in her the ultimate embodiment of the submissive, desperate for love femininity he thinks he can control. Yet, her total vulnerability and devotion seem to, at times, disarm him. His cruelty towards her is often followed by a moment of softness, a brief respite, before the cycle starts again. This push-pull is the cycle of abuse, yes, but it also hints that he might feel a flicker of something real, which then scares him and triggers his rage. He cannot tolerate genuine connection because it requires vulnerability, and in Nate's world, vulnerability is death. So, does Nate Jacobs have empathy? The easy answer is no. The more truthful, complicated answer is that he has the wreckage of it. He is not a pure, unfeeling psychopath. He is something perhaps more realistic and therefore more terrifying, a product of inherited trauma, toxic masculinity, and a childhood that perverted love into control. He feels things powerfully: rage, jealousy, a warped sense of duty, and even glimmers of attachment, but he has no healthy channel for these feelings. His empathy is like a mirror that's been shattered. It can still reflect what's in front of it, but the image is fragmented and sharp, and he uses the shards as weapons. He understands pain intimately, both his own and others, and instead of soothing it, he replicates it. He is not on the far end of the psychopathy spectrum where all light is gone. He is stuck in a terrible middle ground, where the capacity for human feeling is trapped inside a prison of violence, shame, and performative masculinity. This is what makes him such a tragic and horrifying character. He is not a monster from a fairy tale. He is a broken human being, and his brokenness is contagious, damaging everyone who gets too close. His story is a dark mirror held up to the ways we teach boys to bury their empathy, to equate love with ownership, and to see vulnerability as the ultimate sin. Nate Jacobs is a warning, a portrait of what happens when a heart is taught, from its very first beat, that to feel is to be weak, and that the only way to survive is to become the thing that hurts others first.